So there's a lot going on right now, right? Not only is the NBA, NHL, and the MLB closed, and so's Disneyland and Disney World, and so's Broadway. Everybody's staying home. Unemployment is going up. Gas prices have dropped. Canada's JFK, Justin Trudeau, just introduced an $82 billion spending bill. Now, there's been several spending bills. I saw one article that said the first coronavirus spending bill is coming up. The first one. It's not the first one. They've actually have already passed at least two, and then they also freed up the FEMA funds. So there's already been several spending bills and spending measures that have already happened. The first spending bill had happened 14 days ago. This is an $8 billion spending package. So, you know, socialism. So Donald went ahead and signed this socialist $8 billion research into finding a vaccine for the coronavirus. The second spending bill signed yesterday. Today is March 19th, 2020. So yesterday was $100 billion spending bill that was signed yesterday, and that was for testing and emergency paid leave for some workers. And I've heard two reports, one saying if you had over 50 workers, then you're exempt, then others that said if you had under 50 workers, you're exempt. So is anybody going to get this emergency paid leave? So testing, right, everybody can get free testing. If you want some coronavirus testing, there was $100 billion spending bill was tested or signed yesterday. And then there is a $1.5 trillion that was injected into Wall Street. $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion. We got, crazy about $800 billion under the Wall Street bailout with Obama, and rightfully so, but it also helped out the auto industry and some other things. But the $800 billion bailout doesn't even compare, Obama's bailout doesn't even compare to Trump's bailout so far. So we've already had the $8 billion package, right, 14 days ago for the vaccine, and then $100 billion signed yesterday. So that's $108 billion, right, for testing and emergency paid leave for, maybe your worker, maybe if you're working, maybe not, who knows. And then $1.5 trillion was injected into Wall Street. And I think that's just quantitative easing. They just printed up a shit ton of fucking money. So $1.5 trillion, there goes your college, student loans. We could have forgave college student loans, but instead we went ahead and helped out Wall Street. And you know what it did? $1.5 trillion, what happened to it in Wall Street? It helped Wall Street. It stabilized Wall Street for about an hour, and then that was it. And then the markets went crazy again. So just like at South Park, when you put your money in the bank, okay, put your money right there, and it's gone. It's gone. $1.5 trillion. Who got it? Who knows? But not the American people. Wall Street got it and fucked it all up. So now the Trump administration is taking it serious. National emergency is calling this not just a PR problem, it's an actual problem that's worthy of some solutions. And you have Steve Mnuchin. So this is all social. This is crazy. So $1.5 trillion socialism for Wall Street, $100 billion socialism, $8 billion worth of socialism. Now they're talking about $1,000 Trump checks per person. Everybody gets a $1,000 Trump check. Kids get $500, so a household of four would get $3,000. This would be at least the third spending bill. At least the third coronavirus spending bill. So why is this idea gaining steam? How come we're sitting there actually seriously considering? The president is saying it, the Democrats are now saying it. So Bernie Sanders, has been talking about this his entire life. But it seems like everybody's socialist during a pandemic. There are no libertarians in a pandemic. Everybody's a bunch of socialists, right? So the reason why this idea is gaining steam, my guess, is several reasons. Wall Street is crashing. Wall Street dropped 3,000 points in one day. So it is volatile. It is up and down and up and down. So the Wall Street is crashing. They put $1.5 trillion into Wall Street. Didn't do shit. They need an actual solution that's actually going to work. So, Wall Street dropping 3,000 points. So, holy shit, Wall Street's crashing? This is all Donald gives a shit about, but what about my investments? Oh, no, my poor bank. Oh, no, all my my investments on Wall Street. Oh my God, my poor bank, what are they going to do in these troubled times? So $1,000 Trump checks stimulate the fuck out of the economy. Just like Nixon said, we're all Keynesians or Keynesians. Whoever that, John Maynard Keynesian economist, not Milton Friedmanist, but Keynesian economics, which says that the government can inject money into the economy, which stimulates the economy, therefore making it stronger. That's not good libertarian. That's not good Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman called for UBI checks. Keynesian economics, they're also pushing for unemployment benefits and stronger Medicaid and some other stuff. So, in retrospect, when this happened, Donald had blamed the Democrats and the Democrat debates for why the markets were going crazy. And Bernie Sanders did just get elected in New Hampshire and Nevada, and maybe Nevada, somewhere, or Iowa, somewhere around that time. Bernie gets elected. It looks like he could be the Democratic nominee, and then the Wall Street, had begun to crash, had been dropping 500 points, 1,000 points, 3,000 points was the peak. But I heard that it went up 1,000 yesterday, so I think I don't know. It's volatile, but it's not like, I guess I'd be worried if it goes down 10,000. That's when, because the Wall Street's been doing pretty good for a long time, so 3,000, it might be able to handle this. But I thought initially that maybe it was Bernie Sanders. Maybe Bernie Sanders had something to do with Wall Street crashing. Here's this socialist about to get elected, but the coronavirus is going around, and they're sitting there saying, Republicans were saying that the coronavirus was being weaponized by the Democrats, but that's not it. That's the actual reason. The coronavirus, it's totally conclusive. It wasn't Bernie Sanders. It wasn't the Democratic debates. It was the coronavirus that was making the markets go absolutely haywire. Donald's calling it the Chinese virus. The history of that, Spanish flu is what we wrongly call the Spanish flu. I think the Spanish flu actually started in Denmark or something, or the Dutch, I don't know, but it seems accurate. It does, Wuhan and China, that's where we're told that it came from, and I think that they admitted to it. But coronavirus is best. Everybody already calls it coronavirus. COVID-19, perhaps. But both of those are scientifically based, and they're not based upon nationalism. So Chinese, flu, Wuhan flu, that's nationalistic. That is propagandist. So they're trying to take the name. I think coronavirus is fine. I don't totally hate it, but I do. It does some act of racism and nationalism, and fuck the Chinese. They're the ones that did this, and it's not 100%. While we think and suspect, most people believe it came from Wuhan. There's other reports out there that says that it's U.S. made, and the Spanish flu was the troops. The troops spread it all over the goddamn place. So World War I, the troops had spread the Spanish flu all over the place. And so who did it come from? It doesn't matter. It's a disease that we all have to, fight against. And for the scientists, we should be, all of us should be, thinking of a cure. What could cure coronavirus? And so by actually, speaking about what it actually is, it literally is a coronavirus. So that's good enough for me. Everybody already calls it that. And, the Wuhan Chinese thing, I could kind of see what they're saying, but ultimately it's just going down a stupid path. So the symptoms, one, Representative Ben McAdams had said that it was like a belt being wrapped around his chest. And I heard that it fills up with fluids. Pneumonia gets into it in your lungs. It's all about breathing like really hard, like you have trouble breathing. A belt is being wrapped around your chest. Geraldo Rivera says that to test for it, people criticize him, but this is the first test, okay? Do you have coronavirus? Take a deep breath for 10 seconds and see if you can hold it in. Now, I think he's been criticized for that, but I think there's some logic to it, and it's the first test. So give me a different test if you, don't like that. These testing kits are going to be all over the place. So I think it's, look for the symptoms, congestion, fever, and all that stuff, but that's all, kind of the flu. What specifically it makes it coronavirus, this chest stuff, the infection of the chest, the respiratory system, is really the big thing. So White House, this is all about the UBI payments. The UBI payments, I think this is terrible for the narrative of America because where are the corporate Democrats at? Bernie Sanders has been, rejected by the Democratic Party. So Joe Biden, right? Big old Joe is going to, save everybody. Bernie says $2,000 per person. Trump is saying $1,000 per person. What's Joe talking about? Who the fuck knows what Joe's talking about? But Donald Trump and the Republicans are pushing socialism, but the Democrats have rejected socialism. So now we need, for conservative libertarianism and socialism, we're going to rely on the goddamn Republicans. So the Senate is working on this $1 trillion coronavirus spending bill, $200 billion more than Obama's Wall Street bailout, in addition to the $1.5 trillion and the $100 billion and $8 billion. So they are just spending money like, wildfire. Everybody's a goddamn socialist during the pandemic, right? Everybody's a goddamn socialist. So specifically Trump's proposal, which, he's the president, so his proposal has the best chance of winning, in the Republicans, whatever they come up with in the Senate will probably be amenable to the House. And so therefore, Mitch is saying he's going to get a Republican consensus and then propose a bill and then gag on it and vote for it, but gag and vote for it. So he says it's against his, principles, but the desperate times calls for desperate measures, right? So $1 trillion is what they're asking for, and some people say it's not enough. We still need $2, $3, $4, $5 trillion. People are just, screaming their heads off. $200 billion more than Obama's Wall Street bailout. $500 billion, or maybe a quarter of the trillion. So either $500 billion or $250 billion are going to result in direct payments to Americans. So at least half, maybe a quarter of $1 trillion is going to go directly to Americans. Steve Mnuchin is saying every person is going to get $1,000 in America. One-time check, possibly twice. $1,000 per person, $500 per child. So that's $3,000 for a family of four. And the first check, let's assume it gets passed tomorrow. The first check would be sent out in 3 weeks. And then if the emergency is still going on, then the second check would be sent out in 6 weeks. So the bill would authorize Donald to give him the option to send out the second, Trump checks. Unemployment is going up. Gas is going down. So this is $300 billion has been earmarked to go to small businesses, and this is for loan forgiveness for businesses who keep employees on the payroll. $200 billion for facilities for the Federal Reserve. So I guess they need some new desk and pins at the Federal Reserve, so we're going to give them $200 billion. You get $300 billion. You get $200 billion. You get $1 trillion. My God, this socialism is... And then also for the airline industry, the Steve Mnuchin, whatever, the Trump administration has offered secured loans for the airline industry and other industries, and then they're questioning about getting equity stakes for the federal government in the airline industry and other industries if they help to bail them out with secured loans, not a bailout, but it's a secured loan. So nice, cheap government loan. $200 billion is supposed to go to SPR, Summer Prince Rain, SPR during these low oil prices. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean, but $20 billion is going to SPR, $200 billion is going to go to the Federal Reserve, $300 billion is going to go to small businesses for loan forgiveness, so it helps get rid of their loans, $500 billion to maybe $250 billion in direct payments to Americans. So this is, in the next 2 weeks, Steve Mnuchin says he's going to get cash into the hands of working families. Donald says he wants it too. They did a big press conference, so it's the Trump administration. They're going to try to keep the airlines in operation. They already got, 10 days of paid leave and free testing. Mitch said he's going to gag and vote for it. That's what he's advised Donald, just gag and vote for it. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. So what happened to the original Trump solution of cutting interest rates for student loans and payroll tax cuts? We're not going to do payroll tax cuts. We're not going to do a trickle-down economics during a pandemic. So nobody's proposing libertarian economics. Nobody's proposing, he proposed it, but there's a pandemic. Let's cut payroll taxes. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. So during a pandemic, everybody's socialist. Everybody, it's unanimous. It's all across the board. All these Republican senators will probably end up signing this damn thing. So America has picked socialism. The same moment that the Democrats has rejected Bernie Sanders, so America's picked socialism without Bernie Sanders even being part of the narrative. There's also the Trump administration's asking for a tax-free, so you have to pay your taxes. You still got to file your income taxes and pay for them. For 3 months, you're going to have interest-free, tax-free. So if you owe $1 million, this is for everybody that owes the government at least $1 million. For 3 months, you don't have to pay your taxes, and it's interest-free, so it won't, cost you any more to wait 3 months to pay for it. So you could defer the tax payments of the April 15th income tax, income tax stuff that people are filling out. So it seems like we're doing payments. It seems like we're going to do this UBI. So who do we give credit to? Who actually got us universal basic income? Andrew Yang called for it, his only policy plank. Tulsi Gabbard called for it. And she's the one that the Democrats kept her out of the debates. She's the last woman standing. She's the last person of color, last Generation X, last young person. Talk about the future of the party. So, but her UBI suggestion is taken off. Now, she probably got it from Yang, but Yang endorsed Creepy Joe. Yang is the one that created the UBI yarn, and Yang made it popular, but Tulsi is the one that threaded the needle. She controlled the narrative on this. She said it. She called for it immediately. But it's not ultimately her who got it. She, filed the bill or whatever, and she controlled the narrative. But she suggested UBI right off the bat, so therefore she gets, credit. She called for it when the crisis broke out. She introduced a bill for UBI payments, and now the Trump administration and Bernie and everybody's calling for UBI payments. So Donald's calling for $1,000 for every American. Bernie's calling $2,000 for every American plus $1,000 per child. And, who knows what Creepy Joe is doing. Old Grandpa Groping Sniff, he said something about the crisis, but who knows? He's probably inappropriately touching somebody right now. So, but anybody can call for anything. So who actually got this accomplished? Mitt Romney was the first mainstream U.S. senator to call for limited UBI payments. Mitt Romney, a Republican, who voted for impeachment. Then Tom Cotton and Marco Rubio and Josh Hawley. These are 3 other U.S. Republican senators. The senators, this is the House of Lords. These are the elites. So the Republican elites are more socialist than Pelosi and Schumer and the corporate Democrats, or neoliberal, creepy Joe Biden. The Republicans are more for the working class and family, more for socialism than the corporate Democrats. Tom Cotton isn't just saying we need socialism. He's also saying that China needs to be punished. So I guess we need to invade China or something. I don't know. But he also says that the original bill by the Democrats didn't go far enough. It didn't go fast enough. Tom Cotton said he was worried about Pelosi's bill by setting up new and complicated systems relying on businesses giving paid sick leave and then getting a refundable tax credit. He didn't think it would move quickly enough, and he said it could put pressure on those businesses to lay off workers. So Tom Cotton is a socialist. Tom Cotton is a socialist. Marco Rubio, Josh Hawley, Mitt Romney, Donald Trump, Mnuchin, Secretary of Treasury guy. They're all socialists now, right? Poor Wall Street is sick. Who gives a fuck about the homeless and the poor people of America in that crisis? But Wall Street is sick. Holy shit. We need to, prop up Wall Street. Wall Street crashing doesn't affect me. And, the reverberations might be bad, but I don't totally understand this economic system, to be honest with you. Wall Street, everybody just putting money on Wall Street, and we care about their investment. So everybody's got, I think Donald said he never invested in Wall Street. So billionaires, who the fuck has got their money in Wall Street? Middle class people? But, there are no libertarians. Donald Trump is a socialist in chief. Everybody is a socialist in the pandemic. When Wall Street drops 3,000 points, immediately they're like, well, okay, we got to be serious about, solving this. So we need cash payments, socialism. So these tax and spend Republicans passing out welfare checks. Why don't you get a fucking job, you lazy bums? Find work from home. You got to do what it takes. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Some sink, some swim. Dog-eat-dog capitalism. You don't take government handouts. You don't take Trump checks. When you get your Trump check, libertarians and Republicans, rip them up. Show us how principled you are against socialism. You're 100% against socialism. It takes away our freedom, and the entire system is going to collapse when we get socialism. So make sure you rip up those Trump checks. So this is, I think, terrible for America. The Democrats have picked corporate neoliberalism, and now so the Republicans are going to claim to be the conservatives and the liberals. This is terrible. Where the liberals are even at in this conversation. Tulsi Gabbard, the one that they kind of threw off to the side, is the one that led this. The Republicans are the ones that's pushing for this. So socialism is rejected by the Democrats and embraced by the Republicans. So the last thing I'll mention is, even though Pelosi and Schumer's bill didn't go far enough and fast enough, eventually they did counter with essentially Bernie Sanders' proposal. So they're saying we should get $2,000 per person, $1,000 per child. So they're just doubling the payments, right? Not really novel, not really original idea, but they do redeem themselves, just like Tulsi Gabbard redeems themselves by saying UBI. This makes UBI more popular, and if there's paid sick leave and other stuff, that at least gets the American people. Everybody's looking towards government to solve this, right? If it's not solved, it's going to get, it's going to be put right on Donald Trump's front door. So he recognizes that now. He's taking serious measures to correct it, and they're, proposing socialism, not just direct payments for the American people, which is great, but a whole bunch of other shit, too. Lots of pork is going to be, pumped out with this. Federal Reserve and who the fuck else knows. $1.5 trillion already went to Wall Street. So I think they got to correct that, right? Well, shit, we already, propped up the 1%, and that didn't help, do jack shit. So do they even understand economics, really, to be honest with you? But ultimately, giving American people UBI $1,000, hopefully Americans are like, shit, we could get checks from the government. How come we haven't been doing this the whole time? And then we could actually get universal basic income. I wonder, the criticism of UBI is that it's to destroy the social safety net. But UBI, having cash in people's pocket, is a social safety net. It is a social safety net by, guaranteeing that you'll never be poor, you'll never be homeless. You get $1,000 every month. So that's a guaranteed social safety net, and that gives everybody a chance. Having, a bunch of health care and education problems, does that really give everybody a chance? It doesn't solve poverty like UBI does, or land reform, or something, major like that. So I'm in favor of the UBI plan. I think it should be, $2,000 per person, and I think it should be forever. We should never stop doing UBI. We should give every American a chance. It would be good for our economy. We can, grow out, use our creativity instead of just being a bunch of poor, cheap labor for these, multinational corporations. We could actually start our own businesses and, make something of ourselves. So I'm in favor of the UBI thing. I hope the Trump and the Republicans and Democrats all sign off on this. It may just turn out to be only 2 checks, right? Just $2,000 checks, and that's it. And, who else? Who knows what else is, tied up in all this. But, yeah, shit. The narrative, this is what Nixon did to take McGovern's campaign away from him. Nixon promised to get out of the Vietnam War. Nixon, Mr. Vietnam, Mr. Escalation, he's the one that's going to get us. And he starts the peace talks that eventually get us out, but he postponed it and kept it going. So he was a terrible peace candidate, but he did make the right, he did say the right things. And he was going to get us out of the Vietnam War that took the thunder from George McGovern. So this is a good way to take the thunder away from the Democrats. In fact, if Donald Trump was to give us universal health care, what can the Democrats even, talk about? We've been bitching about health care forever, and all of a sudden Donald comes in. So it's kind of crazy that Republicans, maybe that's because they're libertarians, because they traditionally are conservative with their money, when they're talking about spending money, people take notice, and then vice versa, when, liberals say we're spending too much money, then people take notice. But, shit, that's incredible. It's just incredible to me that the Republicans have captured the narrative. They're the liberals, they're the socialists, and when they spend money, it's smart and, good for the economy and shit. But when Democrats spend money, how are you going to pay for it? Where's it going to come from? All these stupid questions are asked. Is anybody asking how much is this going to cost? Does anybody ask how are we going to pay for any of this? Nobody's even asking that question. How are we going to pay for all this? Who gives a shit? Just print up more fucking money. Give everybody money. Just inject a bunch of money. Save this. Save this economy. Who gives? Who cares? All expenses paid. Here's a blank check, America. Fucking get your shit together. Shit. So yeah, that's a coronavirus update on the spending bill. Peace.